Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sanderlanche. This week we are doing Mistborn Book 3, The Hero of Ages, chapters 49 through to 50,
That's right.
52. In these chapters, a few further developments. Beldry visits Team Spook and has a bit of an audience. Vin meets Elend's old buddy down in the caverns. Elend goes and just murders some Koloss for a good old time. And TenSoon visits Luthadel and he digs up some very familiar bones to get information. So, a lot of exciting stuff this week. I'm Dak. With me this week is...
Jamie.
Data.
And Joe.
So, hang on to something. Sanderlanche is about to get rocking.
As the towers of steel and stone crumble to dust, the foundations of our hope begin to rust. Choking fear, screaming sound, as the reaper comes to ground. You turn to face it down because you must. And when the world starts to burn, at the point of no return, keep a hold of your conviction, tear out the affliction, before the world turns black. Stand up and take it back.
Yeah, so 4 chapters this week, and we got some action, which people have been wanting to see some action. So there's some. What did you guys think of these 4 chapters?
Yeah, they were pretty good. I mean, I still feel like we're in a bit of a holding pattern at this stage while we're waiting for the bigger stuff to really come to the fore. But there was enough like little nuggets of enjoyable stuff in here. I think the TenSoon chapter was a highlight. Just seeing him walk back into Luthadel, I was like, what the fuck happened here? And then, yeah, like he found Kelsia's bones and was just like walking around the place just going, okay, all right, this is what I got to do to find out information. So I think that chapter was by far and away my favorite this week.
That was a good chapter. I agree. I mean, I think TenSoon chapters have been standouts for us since the last book, so it's not shocking.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, I like these chapters this week. Spook. I know, I think I say it every week. Spook's got me a bit worried. It felt like a different Spook this week. And having sayed concerns, I guess, I was like, yeah, I'm with you. He's not right. There's something really weird going on with him. But yeah, I also like TenSoon. I thought it was pretty creative that we've got the bones of Kelsia back into play. Interesting to see what happens, I guess, when the bones of Kelsia meet fake Spook Kelsia. That would be a bit strange, but yeah. And I thought, even though it was a short chapter with Vin, I thought that was pretty interesting, having her sort of weigh up her options and it's like, you know what, I've got a better chance to do this outside of my cavern, so I'll take the drugs. That's the way to go. Yeah, good read though. Good little insight into a few different things going on.
See, I feel like for once Spook feels kind of on the ball in this chapter to me. He's like coming up with good ideas. He's being confident. He's not being weird and creepy.
I would agree. I do agree with that. I think this is the Spook we needed to see, I guess, a lot earlier. But knowing that up until this point, this isn't Spook, like being decisive and all that sort of stuff, it's not the Spook we know. And I think that's the scary part of this, is it's like, okay, we see how much of Marsh we lose. Are we losing Spook's sort of humanity? Like, he's in that balance of, okay, I'm actually practical and coming up with good ideas and decisive, and this is what the team needs right now. But how long do we actually get that Spook for? It's going to decline and deteriorate into crazy Spook, I think.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, we're starting to see those changes with him, I guess, is my concern.
I kind of had a love-hate relationship with these chapters. I agree with Dak that the TenSoon chapter is probably the highlight for me. I think there's all kinds of interesting things that could come from TenSoon holding on to Kelsier's bones. So that was good. The Beldray thing, I liked the direction it went in, but I'm kind of with Jamie on this, especially because Spook even hints that like it wasn't really his idea to make all the moves that he's making. She's like, what would the survivor think? And he's like, I'm pretty sure if the survivor were here, he'd say exactly what I'm saying. Which basically tells me, Ruin's telling him to do all this. Ruin's making the moves.
Yeah.
Spook's not making the moves.
I honestly had not read it like that. I always took that as, I know Kelsier, and he would totally approve of this, because Kelsier totally would be on board with this sort of thing. But no, yeah, you make a really good point. That might be what he's saying.
So I think I don't think Spook is the one that is changing or making moves here. I think it's all at Ruin's prodding and suggestion. I did like the kind of foreshadowing / comment that Sazed makes. It's like, oh, with the way he's got that cloth around those spectacles, he looks kind of like an Inquisitor. It's like, oh, yeah, you don't know how right you are. It's like he's got heightened abilities, and also he's being controlled by Ruin. So you're more right than you know. And the Elend chapter with him fighting the Koloss, I don't know. It was not character develop. It was character development, but it was not character development that I liked. It was kind of gross and dark, but not in an interesting way. Dark in a gross way. And this is where we are right now. The world is ending, so it's got to be kind of gross, I guess. But it just wasn't super fun to read. And then I just felt like Vin is making not a great choice in what she's decided to do, to drink this wine that she knows will put her to sleep. Which, yeah, she probably does have a better chance up top, but if she's knocked out, they can kind of do whatever they want to do with her while she's knocked out. So that's an issue for sure. Because if this guy was obligator in the Canton of Resource, who knows all the crazy tricks and things he knows. So I'm not sure about where any of this is going with these chapters. So like I said, yeah, TenSoon's definitely the bright spot for me, but that's about it.
I feel like for me, the Vin chapter in this one is my favorite, because I like her interaction with Teldin and his confidence, his like ridiculous overconfidence, and the banter that goes back and forth between them. And I don't know, I feel like it's a debatable decision to take the wine. If she had any resources, if she had any water left, then it would be like, okay, maybe don't, but like she's gonna die down here if something doesn't change. So I feel like she went the right way. Okay, let us get into these chapters.
Let's back up for a second. I think your insight's BS because you know what happens.
Okay, that's fair. Everything I say is BS. Everyone knows it.
How does that make you feel, Data? After 3 books, your insight is BS.
Yep. It's okay. I get it all the time.
This guy reads from a card.
I read from a book. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
There's no card.
With the benefit of hindsight.
Yeah, exactly. You just haven't taken a stand like that. I feel like where you're like, I think that she made a good decision. Like, that's not something that I feel like you've taken a hard stance on in any of the book. So I feel like doing it now is kind of like, maybe it's a good decision to you because you know what happens, but.
Or maybe I'm trying to throw you off of being like, oh no, that was great.
Nah, I don't think so.
But honestly, she has no water and no more stew. What's she gonna do?
No, your reasoning, your logic is sound. I'm just saying, it's easy for you to sit there with your cards and your answers and say, yeah, that was a good decision.
Okay. Let's see. So the first one, this person is explaining why Ruin couldn't just use an Inquisitor to set him free from the Well of Ascension. And it comes down to, well, for one thing, the Lord Ruler had a lot of control over them before his death, but also the Inquisitors had too many spikes. There's too much Ruin in them. They can't touch that preservation power. He's like, they would have had to take out those spikes.
And guess who had to take out her earring to touch the preservation power? Dun, dun, dun!
I was just about to say, it's like, well, that just sort of leans right into your theory there.
I feel like she also had to take off her vials of metal that she had with her, didn't she? I feel like all her metal was heating up or something.
I think she did, yeah.
Well, maybe the spikes, maybe it's not just that they're hemalurgic spikes. Maybe it's because they're made out of metal. I don't know. I know he says it's Ruin touching preservation's power, but still.
Yeah, it just seemed like anything metal couldn't go into the well.
Yeah, something like that. There's something weird about metal. We've known that since the beginning because they drink metal and they get superpowers from it. So some weird shit happening.
Yeah. Remember, like, at the beginning of this podcast when we were talking about, like, how do you think that works? They just, like, burn the metal in their stomach. Like, or we're like, hey, do these guys eat metal? What's going on with this? This doesn't make any sense. Remember how naive we were? How bright-eyed?
Back in the day.
The innocence of our,
You guys, we've
of
come
our
so
youth.
far.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
do you understand now how it works and why drinking metal gives them superpowers? I feel like we're in the same place.
No, yeah, I don't understand.
No, I just figure it's like, are they just clenching their stomach and hoping the right metal is the one that gets?
Yeah, like even when Kelsier describes like her picking out metals like in her stomach at in the first book, I'm just like, there's nothing like this in like nature in our world that I could like equate that feeling to. Like I've had an upset stomach, or I felt like my stomach was burning, but I don't feel like it's really the same thing at all. So
You're not sensing a well of power in your stomach and like,
Exactly.
I'll access that one.
let me access
Well,
this
it's
well.
not even that. It's like you've just eaten an apple pie and you're trying to tell your stomach to digest just the apple, not the pastry.
Yep, that would be it's weird. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, it's
And-
like, yeah, stomach, use your stomach acid to burn this one thing, but not this other thing. And now burn it faster, stomach. Oh, and by the way, this other metal, it's gonna like eat it up in my stomach immediately.
This metal makes the other metal get eaten superness somehow. Yeah. No, it's a thing.
Yeah.
It's like after all this time, you feel like you know so much, and it's still like I don't know why that makes magic. It's just you have to accept it and move on. That this is how magic happens.
Yeah,
'Cause
magic,
I guess
whatever.
Yeah, there's not really a good way to scientifically explain like how A turns into magic. I don't know that there's ever a good.
I don't know. I like my apple pie metaphor.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, is there another magic system where it's like you get a scientific explanation of like this is how this turns into magic? I guess maybe like an
Is
animal.
Dresden?
Yeah, kinda. I mean, he says that he has to like take the energy of emotion and like channel it, and he can turn it into different stuff. So maybe that's kind of an explanation.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're getting crazy here. We start out the first chapter with Say's writing up diagrams of how he's going to stop the water flow into this cave so that the canals will refill. He has like what do you call it? I'm sorry, is it appendix? What is it called? The list of like the different books or
I think he just says like a table of contents basically.
Yeah. Basically he has like the table of contents and an index is what he calls it. There, I found it. He has an index, and so he dumps that from the metal mind into his brain, finds the thing on the index, writes it down, dumps it all back in, and then brings up the correct section of the correct book. It's so weird how like this is one of the weirder ones to me, where it's just like these whole segments of knowledge are just like dump in, dump back out. But it's pretty cool. I would love
I
that.
just picture it like he's alt tabbing through his brain. I'm like, oh, that's just confusing and odd.
This is a skill I would like to be able to understand, though. I feel like this would have so many real world applications if you could just index your mind.
Yeah.
It'd be so good.
It's like basically turning your brain into a computer on some level, at least. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, there was like the guy who like started Google Glass, like the guy who made the prototype and he used it. I listened to a whole thing about it. He created it in graduate school, and then when he was getting his PhD, I mean, he used this Google Glass thing all through graduate school after he created it, and he said, like, it's basically having all this knowledge that I stored at my fingertips. So, like, if I'm talking to somebody, then I can just pull up last time I talked to them when I made notes, and I can just, like, ask them, oh, hey, last time we talked to you, you said something about your son. How's your son doing? And blah, 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 blah. And when he got his PhD, when he was taking, I guess he's doing his oral examination for that, the professors that were testing him, he was like, well, I mean, I'm going to use my Google Glass in this because this is how I would live, is with this thing on. And the professors were like, yeah, I mean, I guess if it's a part of what you're going to have on you all the time in any given situation while you're doing your work and communicating with people, there's no reason we could say that you can't have it, because that's how you would function in life. So it's like he's just indexing his whole life in this device that he uses to interact with people on a day-to-day basis. Of course, we all know that Google Glasses never really took off like it was supposedly would But yeah, that's a whole thing.
Yeah, I was actually just reading about Google Glass the other day, and one of the reasons that it didn't was because of like all these privacy issues. Because people were like, go out to a bar with your Google Glass and you can record everybody around you without them realizing it. And so a bunch of places in California started banning them because they didn't want their patrons being recorded.
That's what the security cameras are for.
Oh, yeah, right. So yeah, I guess.
Yeah, we don't have CCTV like UK does. I mean, it's like so expansive there. It's kind of nuts to think about.
I guess I can see how Google Glass would be kind of like that. I mean, you can't dump like a huge amount of knowledge into your brain. You still have to kind of read it or whatever as it comes across. But yeah, it's kind of a similar thing. But it is cool how he's just like, okay, I can be an engineer now for a little bit. I mean, more so than other people. You can't just read a book and instantly know everything, but you're still better than someone who has never read the book that tells you how to do this stuff. So, and then Breeze shows up, and we get to think about how his cane is an affectation. I guess, noblemen are carrying dueling canes around, so I just kind of assume that's what the cane is. Not that Breeze is like a dueling guy, but. And they got a nice conversation where Sazed goes off on this big long rant about how cool canals and this engineering and stuff is, and Breeze is like, yeah, I don't care, but it's good to see you happy. Which
is really just the ultimate distillation of Breeze. He's like, I don't care about any of what you're saying as long as you care.
Yeah, there you go. Sazed talks about how he feels guilty for enjoying what he's doing, and Breeze is like, why? Why would you feel guilty about what you are enjoying? It's not like you enjoy killing puppies. It's like, sure, I think you're crazy to love studying so much, but I mean, if you want to enjoy something so particularly esoteric, then you should feel free. It's like studying is just the weirdest thing. Why would you want to, you do you, crazy guy. And they have a whole discussion about Tindwill and why Sazed doesn't think he should be enjoying this and why Breeze thinks that it's okay. And really, Breeze is making a lot of sense here, I think. But once again, Sazed is in that place where he's still depressed about all this and doesn't want to think logically about it. But he's kind of coming around a little bit. But he does feel guilty that he's supposed to be in charge here, and he's basically let Spook take over. And I like Breeze is still like, dude, that's what being in charge is all about. Making other people do stuff for you.
He's not wrong.
On some level, I mean, Breeze is like, yeah, if you're in charge, you just outsource 100% of your entire job, which is not necessarily right, but
no, I could tell you from experience, if you delegate 100% of your responsibilities, they will be done incorrectly.
That is true.
Although Spook's doing a pretty good job, better than Sazed at this whole leadership thing and taking charge.
I think it's more just like Sazed doesn't really know what to do in this situation, so someone else has shown up and said, yeah, I know exactly what to do. Sazed's like, cool, you do you, man.
Yeah, and Sazed gets the part in the plan that he's good at. It's like, oh, I have to study and like do academic type stuff. All right, this is the best day ever.
He's like, this is my jammy.
And then Spook comes over after they talk about, this guy's getting a little weird. Like, what's up with it? And Breeze is actually like, I think maybe I was wrong when I said we don't have a Kelsier earlier. His reputation is he could be our Kelsier for this situation. Which he's already the survivor of the flames, apparently. So you're behind on this trend, Breeze. And Spook says that he feels like they should have been attacked by now. And there's a funny bit in the annotations where Brandon's like, yeah, this is me partly basically saying, like, I kind of wanted to put an attack somewhere in here, like something small, an action piece, but I couldn't find a place where it worked in the story-wise, so it didn't go in here. And so Spook is partly like expressing my thoughts where like, I feel like there should have been something.
We're fighting an army of robots and I've got a bow and arrow.
None of this makes sense. And we get some talk about how Quellion came to power, which is interesting. I guess we hadn't heard about that before. We just knew he led the Animal Farm uprising, but he came out and was like, hey, the survivor says the mists are our friends. So anyone who gets hurt by them must be evil. And then they started killing people, so it's like, see, he's right. But we do get one interesting little knowledge nugget, as Joe likes to say, in that the nobility do not get mist sickness. And that's not like a genetic, it's not Ska that have noble blood. It is actual nobility do not get the mist sickness. So yeah, I wonder what that's about. And Breeze, or Say's rather, is like, I wonder if Elend knows about this. Probably not, since like everyone he's with is Ska. And apparently the nobles back in Luthadel have just decided to stay inside and not risk going out into the mists. Babies.
That'd be one hell of a way to find out that you're not fully noble. If the nobility supposedly don't get mist sickness and all of a sudden you did. It's like, Ska.
All this time. That would be funny. It's like, it turns out your mother like had an affair with Ska man at some point and didn't tell your dad about it. And Say says that he's going to take a few weeks to build this thing. Basically, it sounds like he's going to take a big piece of wood and shove it over where the water comes out so that it can't come out anymore.
He's invented the plug?
Yeah, kind of. Because I don't think he's even shoving it in. It's just like going to lower down in front of the thing. So, and he even says that he thinks that the water's going to come back like stronger than it was originally. So that'll be interesting. Not that we ever saw it originally. So. And then Goradel shows up and he's like, Lord Spook, someone is waiting up above. And he's like, what, who? Dern? No, she says she's the citizen's sister. So I don't know if anyone was expecting Beldry to show up at the hideout.
Can't say I was.
You get the impression after this conversation we have with her that she's not super bright either. So maybe she and Spook make a good couple after all.
Oh, dear Lord.
It's just like Breeze and Ariane. They're both messed up, but they work together because they're similarly messed up. And so they sit there talking to her, and she's like, well, I'm here because you're going to kill my brother. And Stacey's like, well, what? Or Breeze, rather. He's like, why would you think something like that? Do we look like the types who would be very good at that sort of thing?
Yeah. I like how all during this discussion, too, about possibly killing her brother, like, we know Spook has threatened on multiple occasions, hey, I'm going to kill your brother.
Right.
And he doesn't mention it to them at all. He's not like, yeah, I totally told her I was going to kill him.
It's like, why would you think that? Because he said he would, like, many times. Everyone looks at him, he's just like, what can I say?
Because even Beldry doesn't say it. It was like, you could tell them that, like, he pointed at Spook. It's like, he told me he was going to do it.
Yeah, she kind of looks over at Spook at one point, and Breeze is like, oh, well, no, he's harmless. But she doesn't say anything. But then again, Spook doesn't give her a lot of chance, because he immediately jumps in. He's like, Breeze, you're making us both look stupid. Beldry knows why we're here. So he kind of takes control of the situation and pisses Breeze off, as we see later. And he's like, is that really why you came here? And she's like, you're not going to hurt me. You're the survivor's crew. And it's like, you guys really don't know the kind of stuff that Kelsier did and that his crew was into at various points. So Saysta asks, why would you trust us? And she's like, I guess men who lie don't save children from burning buildings. Which, that's a false equivalency, but okay, I see where you're coming from. And then Spook, who's very take charge here, he's like, okay, Breeze, Sage, all in, outside. Goradel, you watch her. He really has just taken over. And Ariane spent that entire conversation staring at her. And the first thing when they get out, she's like, I don't like her. And then
It's like, I'm the only girl here. Why is this one here?
I am the team's girl. Vin's not here
I
anymore.
like when Breeze goes, yeah, of course you don't. She's competition. I was like, I'm glad you said it, Breeze.
Well, and then Ariane's immediately like, competition from a timid little thing like that. Whatever. Oh, so catty, Ariane. And then when Spook's like, so what do you think, Breeze? He's like, what about you insulting me in there? Your pride really isn't important right now. My dear fellow, my pride is always important.
Oh, Breeze. I've gotten so fond of him.
I know, right? But what everyone agrees on is that she's noble.
I think it's a bit rich for Orion to say she grew up being pampered. I mean, all right, sure. How's that pot calling the kettle black?
I guess in fairness to Orion doesn't sit there and go, well, she was pampered and I wasn't. As a pampered person, she seems to know she was pampered.
It takes one to know one. Yep.
I think Ariane is of the mind that because she has to riot people, she earned her pampering. Like, she rioted people to pamper her. So she worked.
It was hard work getting home.
Quote unquote
pampering.
worked to get people to do what she wanted them to do. So in her mind, she may really think, well, like, if I wasn't pampered, I'd work for this.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's fair. I can see that.
Yeah. Say's opinion is, well, she's clearly naive. Otherwise, she wouldn't have come here and expected us to just let her go. And they didn't even have to discuss it. They just all agreed. It's like, well, yeah, we're clearly not going to let her go. But Spook's the one who comes up with the plan, or the not the plan to keep her, but like how to spin it. Where it's like, so Breeze, I mean, what do you think people would say if I spread a rumor that Citizen's sister turned against him and fled to our embassy for protection? And Breeze is like, ooh, no, that's good. That almost makes up for how you treated me. Have I mentioned yet how rude that was? Oh, I love Breeze. You can't. Nobody will believe I've deserted. It's like, oh, so, I mean, did you talk to the soldiers out there? It's like, no, I had to run past them so they couldn't stop me. Okay. So everyone saw you run into the building of your own free will past the guards, so trying to avoid them and not be stopped. Yeah. No, yeah, nobody's going to believe that you really turned against him. Sure.
It's like Spook and Breeze are just those two cops in every TV show ever, just bantering each other. Just like, oh yeah, look, they can say that you came in here of your own accord. Yeah, it doesn't look good, mate. Sorry.
That's true. It's very like buddy cop movie. That's a good point.
Yeah.
And I like Saged over here and he's like, man, when did Spook get so clever? But now thinking with the point Joe made about it seeming like maybe Ruin's behind this, I guess we can't even give Spook credit for being clever. That's sad.
I mean, is it sad or is it expected?
We all know which one it is.
Yeah.
Peltry's like, this is deceitful. What would the survivor say if he knew this? It's like, man, you really don't know Kelsier.
Yeah, man, it's funny how you guys think you knew this guy.
It's like Kelsier lied like as a hobby.
Yeah, he like disguises too. He's very theatrical.
Yeah, extremely theatrical.
He was a thief before he was the survivor. I mean, come on. But they don't know none of that.
I feel like that. I mean, that his reputation from being like the greatest ska thief of all time or whatever must be out there also. It's part of like what makes him so impressive.
Yeah, but I think I mean, the way I read this is like once all the stuff happened with the Lord Ruler, like that disappeared. He's not remembered as because people know him as Kelsier the Survivor, not Kelsier the Master Thief. Now people from the old days probably still remember, but the major story, because in all honesty, worldwide, are people going to know this super awesome thief from Luthadel? Probably not. But if they know this guy, the Survivor, that's who they know. They don't know him for what he was.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I think it's also just like they go to any length to justify what he did. So even if like people knew him as a master thief, and you know, to be a thief you have to be a liar, they would just say, yeah, but he stole from the nobles. He lied to the nobles, not to us. We're the Scar. Like he loved us. He wouldn't lie to us. He would lie to them, not us.
Although apparently Beldry is a noble also, so. Or at least according to Allrian and Breeze, they're pretty sure.
Yeah.
Which makes sense if her brother is a Misting, so maybe they're both actually nobility disguising themselves as Ska at this point. Which isn't that a turnaround? I mean, other than Breeze, I don't think we've ever seen that.
Well, it's a good way. It's like Quellian's just like, all right, reading the room. Nobles are all about to die. Let's pretend I'm a Scar and lead the killing instead of being a part of it.
Yep. It's like
actually a pretty good plan, honestly.
It really, yeah. It's like in have you guys watched Stargate SG-1?
No.
Okay. Dead Room. So yeah, when there's this one guy who, when their evil empire is about to fall, like his whole species of evil overlords is falling, he's like, I'm gonna pretend to be like one of the people that was oppressed and lead the like resistance movement so that I'll be like the last one of my species left standing when I destroy all the others and make it look like a popular uprising. So yeah, it's a good evil plan. Okay, so the next epigraph, one can see Rowan's craftiness and his meticulous planning. He orchestrated the downfall of the Lord Ruler right before the Preservation's power came back to the well. Just a few years apart, and he managed to get himself free. On the timescale of gods and their power, this was very tricky timing, as precise as an expert cut performed by the most talented of surgeons. So that's some high praise for Ruin there. And then we get the Vin chapter, which, like I said, I think is my favorite here. I love the banter. Teldin, we never knew all that well before, and I don't think I particularly cared for his character because he's like in the first book, he's like the womanizer of the group, and he kind of annoys me, but I like him here.
Well, he really just does talk like a young Elend here. Like he has that same sort of cocky swagger, mixed with some sort of faux humbleness.
But when Vin sees or hears the door opening, she makes a run for it. She drops coin, flies across the room, downs her last vial of metals rather than flies across the room. And she gets to the door in time to see a guy step through, but she kind of flies around him, gets into this other little room, but discovers that the trap door has been sealed and she cannot get out, no matter how much pewter she uses. So close. And I like that there's a bunch of workers there who are, opening and closing the door and stuff because it's a giant stone door. And they're kind of like, oh shit, what are you gonna kill us now? And the guy that we find out is Teldin is like, yeah, trapdoor's really well secured. You're not gonna get out. So, and I like his whole speech where he's like, let me assure you of several things. First, that you're the only Allomancer here, so I have no doubt you could slaughter us all. But second, the stone is not gonna move anytime soon. So you may as well sit down and have a drink with me. We'll have a pleasant chat. And so this is a heck of a plan that Yeoman or maybe Teldin. I mean, Teldin says that nobody thinks he's gonna that this plan is gonna work. So I'm not entirely clear on if it's his plan or if it's Yeoman's plan, and he volunteered to be the psycho who went down into the pit with the tiger. He's like, okay, got 2 bottles of wine. One has a extremely powerful sedative in it. And so she's like, wait, is this gonna be that scene from The Princess Bride? Or are we doing the swapping of the cups and stuff? And he's like, oh no, I'm too thirsty for that, and also I've heard that you're not really patient. So, which isn't that the truth? Vin's not.
Yeah, that's not wrong.
And then he's like, oh man, this wine really is good. I mean, Yeoman's a gentleman. If he's gonna send his friend down to die in a pit, he at least provides expensive wine to soften the blow. So basically, he's supposed to get her to drink some drugged wine so they can take her above. For what reason, he doesn't really say. And she's like, okay, but now you've told me that you have a way to make them open the door, so I'll just make you. And he's like, okay, so I'm sure that you could torture me enough, cut off some fingers until I do what you want, but I'm pretty sure the screaming would let them know that not everything is not copacetic down here. She's like, well, I could kill all the servants until you open the door. And he's like, oh, do you think I care? And she's like, well, you're one of Elend's friends. Like, well, yeah, but I don't care about the ska. He did, but we all thought he was a weirdo for that, so. But
I thought that was a really good point to bring up, that it's like, yeah, Elend was different from the rest of them. They might have swapped, political and philosophical ideas, but at the end of the day, he was the only one that was fascinated with ska.
Yeah, I mean, we saw how he really cared about, like, ska quality and stuff moving forward, so it's interesting that that was not an issue that comes up with Jastes or Teldin.
Mm.
We got the right man in charge after all, I guess. But he's like, maybe if you kill enough of them, I would break. I guess you should get started then. Just, this guy is it's so fun. He's like, look, we all know you're on twilight.
Kill enough people, it might gross me out enough.
Well, no, he's like, I'm not heartless. Maybe it would work. He seems a little bit heartless, but, He's also apparently very confident that she's not going to do it, so he can say it all day long.
Yeah, sure, maybe it'll work. It's not going to work.
Spoilers. It won't work.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you this right now. These guys, they're dead either way. They just don't know it yet. Wait, what?
Yeah, all the servants are like, hey, hold on, what? We can't let you out of here, obviously.
She looks at the servants and goes, hey, if I kill him, will you guys show me the way out? And they'll just go, yeah, totally, man.
Just imagine being one of those servants sitting in that room and just listening to this unfold. It's like, guys, this wasn't part of the plan. Oh my God, he's gambling with our lives, not with his own.
Yeah, but I guess they're all ska servants, and the yeoman rule has been like the old days of the Final Empire, where the ska are just, they're slaves who have to do what they're told and may get randomly killed if they piss somebody off. So it's not that far off the norm, I suppose.
Just another day at the office.
Yep, this is where Joe can go back to It Sucks to Be a Ska. We haven't heard that.
I was about to say, it's been a while since we did that.
True.
I mean, let's be real. I think throughout this whole book, maybe it hasn't been as graphically sucky to be a ska, but I don't think it's ever been good to be a ska in this book, even in the second book.
You're not wrong. Although in those situations, I feel like it's more, it sucks to be everyone.
Yeah. It's like, it just sucks to be alive in this world. It's like, yeah, you get all the crazy, like, metal shooting magic powers, but on the whole, it actually just sucks for everyone.
It's not a fun
It
place.
sucks to be alive.
Oh, brilliant.
But I do like that Vin thinks to herself, she's like, he's wrong about me. I would kill those servants in a second if I thought it would get me out of here, but it's not going to get me out of here. So, because he's like, we've heard that you have the habit of killing kings and gods, and maybe a soldier here and there, but servants. No, you'd never do that. She's like, yeah, no, you're totally right. Sure. And so he makes a good point where he's just like, so, unless you find a way to open those cans, you're going to starve down here. So death or me or death. And she kind of goes for it. Like she comes up with a half-baked plan where she's like, maybe I can use the pewter to like burn away the drugs in my system and fake it. But even if that doesn't work, he's right. I'm going to starve to death down here. So I guess I'll take the gamble. And Telton's like, they said you were a decisive one. All right, that's nice. And then once she downs it, he's actually surprised. He's like, man, she actually went for it. And the servant's like, well, you'd be dead if she hadn't. We'd all be dead. And that's the last thing she hears, because her plan to use duralumin and pewter works for like half a second and then does not. And she falls unconscious. So, will Vin ever wake again?
There was enough tranquilizers in that to bring down a bull elephant. Good lord.
Well, and Vin's not a big girl either. She's a tiny little thing still, so... okay, so once free from... Okay, this is the next epigraph. Once he was free from his prison, Ruin could start influencing more people and things. But before that, it was tougher. It said he apparently began with people who already had a tenuous grip on reality. Their insanity made them more open to his touch, and he could use them to spike more stable people.
Which doesn't really speak well for Spook here.
I mean, Spook's gotten spiked, so it's not like he was crazy enough that Ruin could manipulate him without a spike, which seems to be what this is implying. But if Zane was always crazy, maybe that explains where his spike came from.
He was crazy enough to spike himself.
Maybe.
Ruin's just like, hey, you see that thing over there? That railway spike looking thing? Yeah, that. Just stick it through your heart. I don't want to do it.
Kill somebody else with it first, and then stick it in there.
It'll impress the chicks.
Yeah, chicks love that. It's like a tattoo. It's like an earring, but like a chest earring, so it'll be great. Or back.
So if he had it as long as he could remember, it's like, how old was he if he was corrupted into doing this himself?
That's true.
This would be a really good idea.
You pointed out last time that maybe it's like if you have it long enough, you kind of start to forget.
True.
So that could be part of it. And then we cut to Elend, who, interestingly, it says he could never manage Vin's horseshoe trick, where she uses the horseshoes and pulls and pushes so she can fly. To Elend, the process looked like a cyclone of potentially lethal chunks of metal with Vin at the center. Which, yeah, okay. It's like Vin seemed puzzled that he couldn't get it. It had only taken her about half an hour's practice, but, well, that was Vin. She just does things. So Elend uses coins to jump long distances, basically. He kind of hops with a big bag of coins to drop on his way. Which is what most Mistborn do, I guess. I don't know that we've ever seen anyone else come up with the crazy Vin idea. Although we haven't seen that many Mistborn in total, honestly. Like, he thinks, I hope Sazed and Breeze are having better luck in Urto. I don't know. Kinda, I guess.
The narrator just goes, they were not having more luck in Urto.
Well, they got a plan. Things are kind of on the upswing for them. They've captured the citizen's sister.
Yeah, but as we've talked, like, we're pretty sure the one behind the plan is the one they're fighting against. So
okay, fair point.
And to be fair, they've captured the citizen's sister like my cat once caught a bird. Sorry, terrible English today. She was yawning under a tree and a bird flew into her mouth. I don't think it qualifies as she caught a bird.
Suicide. Yeah. Okay.
The end result was like, yeah, I'm a killer. I killed birds. yeah, we totally caught Beldry. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Greatest hunter ever.
Meant to do it.
It's like, no, what you don't understand is I saw where the bird was going and I positioned myself there. It's just
I knew ahead of time.
Smarter, not harder.
You knew my cat.
She's like, Mom, just give me this one time. Come on.
Yeah.
Why you gotta do me like this?
Oh dear.
Just give me this
See the
one.
look on her face.
She was like, oh, bird in my mouth.
She was
All right.
she was more surprised than anyone.
Yeah. If a bird suddenly flew in, well, let me put it in a way that works, I guess, since I'm not a cat. If a chicken nugget flew into my mouth, I that would be pretty surprising.
Yeah.
I feel like that raises a lot more questions about
Right.
how is the chicken nugget flying? Where did it come from?
Okay, well, I guess let me rephrase it. If a chicken flew through the air, exploded and fried itself midair, and then went in my mouth, I would be pretty surprised. I think that makes it worse. Yeah, I think that makes it worse.
It's like the spontaneous combustion doesn't help the situation.
Yeah. Also, how did it get batter on it to get fried?
Yeah, where'd the breading come from? Exactly.
Yeah.
An Elemental just pushed an air fryer into its path, and it was instantaneously done.
Yeah, exactly.
Or it's like Minecraft, where something blows up and it just cooks the animal that it exploded. And you end up with like cooked meat.
Sure.
But yeah, this chapter is
Cooked meat.
mostly Elend killing Kolos. That's kind of the whole thing.
Yeah, it's a real drag.
He's having an internal crisis as he does it, where he's just like, why? And Vin has had a similar thing before, where she's like, I have all this strength. Why isn't it enough to protect the people that I'm supposed to protect?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is very similar to something Vin went through, I think, just last book. So.
And I'm just like, dude, the last time she got captured, you didn't even have powers, and you just charged right in and, effectively got her out.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man.
He's more reckless back then. He didn't have as much to lose.
He didn't have as much experience of the world to know how much there was to lose.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, now he's wise enough to know how bad idea that was.
Yeah. I think all of our Mistborn protagonists have had these thoughts in each book. Kelsier had it in the one where he watches his army get slaughtered.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Finn has it in the second book, and then now Elend's having it, and it's just like, yeah, I get it. It's just depressing, though.
It is kind of a downer. He's
like, do all Mistborn go through this? Was this what Shan Alaria was thinking right before she tried to kill Elend?
Maybe, probably not.
She's like, why wouldn't he just marry me? Well, guess I gotta kill him.
Although the theory that Elend had in that book was that she was going to marry him to get to have the heir of House Venture and then kill him. So she wasn't real nice.
Yeah, it was a real whole 9 yards situation.
Oh, you just imagine this whole depressed internal monologue. Gemmel's having that, and he's thinking, it's like, what if I never find the perfect fork?
Yeah.
That I can never complete my set of silverware.
Yeah. Knowing what we know now about that story and how it was clearly just a test for Kelsier, I bet Gemmel was totally just fucking with Kelsier. He's like, what are we here to get? And really they weren't there to get anything. They were just there to have Kelsier fight that guy. So he's just like, this.
Well,
this looks good.
I think, and I don't think that this is a spoiler at this point, because the epigraph we just read, I think, has strong relevance to that story. In that we know that Ruin was manipulating things to try to free himself, which included needing Kelsier to find this metal that eventually leads Vin to figure out how to kill Wolf.
And we know the crazy
Ruin
people.
was in Gemmel. Yeah, because Gemmel was called crazy and stuff. Did Gemmel talk to himself? Did we hear that in the 11th metal?
Yes. Yeah, oh, he did. Yeah.
Did.
At one point he said no, something like, no, not this one. The others, yes, not this one, or something.
Yeah, he's like, no, not him. I like him. He almost never complains. The others complained all the time.
Yeah, it's totally Gemmel. Gemmel totally had Ruin in him. We cracked the case. Data gave us the answer, but we cracked the case.
Taking credit.
Like the penny drop.
Oh, yeah, maybe. I mean, we had the information to get there.
We have perspective now. It's okay.
But yeah, Elend does a lot of murdering Kolos in this chapter. It's and he's not happy about it. And then really, I mean, he's trying to protect the people of the city partly, but at the same time, he's really here to get this army, right? That's the whole reason he showed up. And he thinks that they're so hard to control. There must be an Inquisitor controlling them. Also, there's so many of them. He's like, there's always an Inquisitor with groups this big. But an Inquisitor never shows. So maybe he ran. Maybe there never was one. It's hard to say.
Well, maybe the Inquisitor is they've led Elend to this point. I mean, Ruin seems to be playing a lot of long games at the moment. I think he's trying to set up. We know it with Spook, which he's trying to set up members of the crew to take the fall and do things they wouldn't ordinarily do. So maybe Ruin deliberately had an Inquisitor with this group of Kolos here, and basically just planted. They knew that Elend lost his army of Kolos, And so now it's like, yeah, come get this one and do something stupid. Come on. You know you wanna. And so once Elend took the Koloss, the Inquisitor's like, sick, he took the bait, I'm out.
Honestly, if Ruin's whole thing is just, breaking stuff down, destroying stuff, probably the more people Elend kills with an army of Koloss and the more cities he destroys, the happier Ruin is. But in the end, he gets the army. He takes control of them with a little Duralumin. And an old man comes up. He's like, you're him, aren't you? The Lord Ruler. And Elend looks down at himself and, like, he's basically covered in blood from all the Koloss he's just slaughtered. And he's like, close enough. And then takes off.
Dark.
And the chapter ends with, he's like, he has to admit what he had decided unconsciously the moment he'd set out to find more Koloss. The time for killing has not ended at all. It's just begun. Wait, I mean, if he was going off to find thousands more Koloss, we knew what he was going to do with them. I mean, it's not a shocker. He apparently didn't want to admit it to himself. And then our last epigraph for this time is about the ash and the microbes, because we talked about the microbes earlier that the Lord Ruler created to eat the ash. But in the end, there was just so many of them. So much ash, rather, that it overwhelmed everything. It says, in the end, the entire system fell apart. Ash fell so steadily. Killed the plants, killed the microbes, it killed everything. So that's good.
So is this like in the end after the events of this book, or is this in the end just in general?
This is an excellent question. We still don't know when this person is writing, except that it seems to be after all of this has happened. So,
well, I mean, the last chapter made it clear they were aware that Penrod got taken, so which no one's learned yet. So it's got to be sometime after all that, at least.
Yeah, or at least, I mean, somebody who has the power to know what other people don't, at least, I guess. Because theoretically, I guess somebody with godly power might be able to know that he was.
Well, and the way that he talks about it, it's almost like it's a historical fact at this point. Like it's been something that they all knew about for a long time. He's like, here's a great example is, remember the story of how Penrod got taken over by Ruin? Like that's what it sounds like to me, anyway.
Yeah, that's fair.
But our last chapter is the TenSoon chapter. That's what everybody's been looking forward to. He's been gone for a little bit now.
It's just the ultimate, like, he comes back to Luther, and I was like, what the fuck? I was gone for, like, a little while. What did you do?
Everything is horrible now. Like, more horrible than usual, and it wasn't that great a place to start with.
It did put into perspective how much had actually changed since TenSoon departed. It's like, he really has literally no idea of what's happened, even to the point of, Emperor Elend Venture. He's like, please tell me it's not Strath. Oh, God. Like, he's been out of a loop pretty much this whole book, but he's been out of a loop in the year between books, and at the end of the last book, he was already absent. So, yeah, a lot has changed there.
Yeah, I think my favorite part of the book is that, or this chapter, I mean, is that at this point, everybody, like, secretly knows, Penrod's gone insane. Like, everybody in the city knows, like, our king is nuts, and we just have to wait for the Emperor to get back, I guess, to fix this. Because he's literally told the Scot, fight to survive, like, kill each other for food. Like, it's crazy. And, like, as a dog, he's running through the streets, and people are like, oh, I'm going to eat that dog. That's good eating.
Them's good eating.
Yeah.
He's just like, no, I'm meant to eat you, not the other way round.
It's true. I wonder what happened if you try to eat a conjure. Like, would he start burning you from the inside as he ate you back? It's
like, they try and cut into him. It's like something out of The Thing with, like, shit just flying everywhere, and turns into a monster.
And, like, he's feeling guilty too. He's like, I shouldn't have left her. I should have just stayed and told her what I knew. The world might end because of my stupid honor. Very Zuko. And so TenSoon kind of goes around town trying to hear, like, find out some information, and he can't get a whole lot. He does hear about the crazy king, which, and I do like the part that Jamie mentioned where it's like, oh, there's an emperor? Man, I sure hope it's not Strath. That guy sucks. But he can't believe that Vin was beaten. He's like, Vin is invincible. She killed Zane when he had Adium and she didn't. Like, you can't stop her. And then he thinks about how he killed Orsur and apparently tortured Orsur first to get information out of him, like they're supposed to, which we still don't know how that works. But apparently there were screams, so...
It's like, he tortured him like they were supposed to. So like the Khans aren't allowed to kill humans, but they're allowed to torture them for info, or is that what the humans do that and then the Khan just listens?
I think in the last book she said that like the human tortures the subject for information, and so that or also they're supposed to quietly try to follow the person before they take over and find out information. I don't know if that would have worked in this case.
Yeah, spy on them.
But one of the pieces of information that he got out of Warsaw was the location of Kelsier's bones. Which every time they use this, I'm just like, see, there's your ultimate proof that it's they can't reveal later on that Kelsier wasn't really dead after all, because there's people walking around using his bones for shit. So they can't give you that kind of crazy plot twist. He'd only seen the survivor once, but with his expertise in imitation, it was worth a try. So that answers the question that we had earlier, where there's do they have to eat the person or they have to at least see them? That came up not long ago, I feel like. Also, he apparently has no hair for Kelsier, so it's he's going to have to be bald. But, you got to do what you got to do.
Lord Kelsier, why are you wearing a hat?
He's got his hood up later. It's very, Mistborn-y.
Yeah.
And in the annotations, Brandon mentions, it's probably shouldn't surprise you too much that TenSoon has seen Kelsier before. We did see TenSoon as the Venture Conjurer once in the first book. And TenSoon was actually there the day Kelsier fought in the Square of the Survivor, just like Elend and Straff were also there. And it's kind of funny you guys mentioned the scientific thing, because in this same section, he talks about the epigraphs in this book and how they're so much different from the previous two books' epigraphs. And he goes, I do worry that they're too scientific for the feel of the book. So that kind of goes along with what you guys were saying. But he has justifications, obviously, for that. Oh, and our friend from the previous book, who we were told to watch out for, Elend, makes his return. How exciting.
So he stayed in the city after what happened to him in that city?
Yeah, I mean, I guess he was part of Set's army, and Set's army got absorbed into Elend's army, so he was just part of the group that got left behind to guard the city.
Yeah, I guess.
And he mentions in the annotation, he's like, oh yeah, so here's the cameo by Wells/Elend. You may remember him from the previous book. He was with Set's army and joined Elend's army, which all the stuff I just said, basically. And he mentions here that it's his friend, Dan Wells, which we knew from the previous one, whose first novel, I Am Not a Serial Killer, comes out in March 2010. So, what a great name for a book. I tell people that all the time. So, Elend and this other guy, who's this guy? Riddle, are guarding something? Are they at the city gates? Where are they here? They're waiting to be relieved on guard duty by these other guys, who are apparently always...
I think it's Keep Venture, like the palace.
That would make sense. And all of a sudden, a guy strolls through the mists. And it says something. Elend thought that something about him looked familiar. And Riddle drops to the ground. He's like, oh, gosh. Apparently, Riddle has a silver spear pendant, so he's a church member. And Elend recognizes him from a painting that depicted the survivor of Hathsin. And TenSoon gets very dramatic with his... and not quite Kelsier kind of dramatic. Like, I have come to tell you I do not approve of how this city is being run. My people are sick. They starve and die.
Come, son of Jarrell, kneel before Zod.
Nice.
He's like, tell me about who rules this city. And they're like, oh, King Penrod? He rules for Emperor Elend Venture. And that throws even TenSoon off. He's like, wait, Lord Elend Venture? Okay. All right. So he approves of how the city's being run? And they're like, no. Lord Penrod's kind of gone crazy. He talks to the air. Okay, so somebody else talking to somebody who's not there.
Yeah.
Claims he can see the Lord Ruler standing beside him.
Oh, dear.
We were just talking about how Ruin should pretend to be the Lord Ruler, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's a whole thing, right? Like, Penrod's nuts, but I think my favorite part of this scene is, like, when one of the guys is like, wait, if this is really Kelsier, would he have to, like, the survivor, would he have to ask this? Shouldn't he be, like, omniscient?
Yeah, maybe that's one of the benefits of having a god who was human first. It's like you're not necessarily attributing all this omniscient type stuff. It's kind of like the Norse gods were not necessarily like all-seeing, all-knowing. Odin had like his ravens or whatever, and his foresight, but they weren't. They're much more human than some other gods, I guess.
Yeah.
So he asks where Vin is, and they're like, "Oh, the Empress? Well, she's with the Emperor. We have no idea where that is." My sergeant says the Emperor is in the south fighting Kolos, but I heard other men say he was in the west. And Kelsier, TenSoon, whatever, It's like, that's not very helpful. But Wellen is aware of Breeze and his small party that went north to Urto, which apparently was kind of a secret mission on some level. And TenSoon's like, okay, well, fine. That's I'm going to have to leave. But tell the people that when the Mists leave, they should immediately find shelter, a place underground. So he's anticipating the Mists leaving and people needing to take shelter for some reason. And Wellen's like the caves where you trained your army? And he's like, yeah, whatever. Doesn't matter. Bye. This is the kind of thing that when you're impersonating like Jesus, basically, you don't want to just say stuff offhand and be like, hey,
yeah, whatever. It's it makes me think of DBZ Abridged, where Goku's just like, yeah, cool.
Yep. Bored now, leaving.
So TenSoon takes off then. He's like, okay, well, this is the best information I can find. At least if I can find, like, Breeze, he should be able to give me more information, better information about this stuff. Oh, somebody finds him as he's trying to, like, get his dog bones back. I'd forgotten this bit. And he's like, hey, no, go talk to those guards at Keep Venture. I, Kelsier, have chosen them to lead you. Penrod has been corrupted by Ruin, the thing that seeks to destroy the world. Gather the faithful and escape the city. So that's nice.
TenSoon knows what's up, too.
He does. He was the only one who knew anything about Ruin and Preservation. That's where we heard about them from, so... We still don't know how much they know, though. Like, this is the one guy who might have some information to help beat Ruin, and he can't find Vin. And so, yeah, he takes the sack of Kelsier bones and takes off, heading to Urto, hoping that he is on the right path. So it's not a really long TenSoon chapter, and we don't really get new information exactly, except that the things in Luthadel are much worse than even we knew. But it's a pretty cool chapter. Okay, let us do... As the world is falling apart around us now, let us move into predictions, predicments. What do you guys have for this week?
Who's going first?
Yeah, I was about to say, nobody wants to volunteer to go first. Dak talked. He can go first.
Oh, dear. That's right. I've been writing them down as we go. Okay, so up in Urto, I think Ruin is definitely possessing Spook to destroy this, ruin the cache. He's trying to get the water to come back up into the town, so then the cache of supplies is going to have a lot less water involved, so it's just going to be destroy the supplies that people have. I still think Beldry is the secret power in the city. I don't think she was in charge. I think she was a pawn of Ruin's, and she was manipulating Quellion on Ruin's behalf. But now that Spook is ready to bring down Quellion, he's a much more useful pawn to Ruin. So Beldry's just aligning with him. I don't think she's as dumb as people as she comes off. I think that's an act that Ruin's putting her through. I think the end goal here is Ruin wants to use the survivors' crew to really fuck the world up more and just fracture the crew a little bit, and just so they can have the whole "oh god, what have we done" moment. But yeah, TenSoon is going to show up there. He's going to instantly pick out what's going on with Spook and that Ruin has possession of him there. I think it would be hilarious if Spook is talking to Kelsier and then TenSoon walks in with Kelsier's bones appearing as him, and Spook just goes, "What the hell? 2 of them?" And Ruin just kind of goes, "Oh fuck, okay, all right, shit, I'm gonna have to change it up."
I want it to be one of the that scene with the Spider-Man pointing at the other Spider-Man.
I was thinking more I was like, "No, I'm the real Santa. We're all the real Santa." And then Breeze can walk in. It's like, "I'm his good friend Breeze."
So, okay.
The holiday armadillo.
If Beldry is the one who's being manipulated by Ruin, do you think that she sees a survivor also, and that's why she's she's so certain the survivor wouldn't approve of this?
I mean, possibly, but we don't know if she even knows what Kelsier looks like, so Ruin could be appearing to her as anything.
That's true.
I mean, if it's given the familial stuff with her and Quellion, Ruin could also be appearing as a long dead parent, and so she's just going Dad wants you to do this or something.
Creepy. Yeah. Okay. I'm with you.
Yep.
I don't have a lot of extra predicaments this week. I am definitely interested in the bones of Kelsier rocking up with Spook and fake Kelsier. and the Kelsiers coming together. I think that's going to be quite interesting. But if TenSoon wants to talk to Breeze, I think we realistically are going to be faced with that situation. He's going to have to wear Kelsier's body because Breeze doesn't know that the Wolfhound was a Kandra either. So you can't just walk into the city as this Wolfhound and start talking to people. It's not going to work. So yeah, I think that's really bizarre, and I think that having TenSoon in Kelsier's bones, he's going to be in a position then to actually open up to Sazed what's possibly going on with Spook, because he will have a bit more information that needs to be shared. So I think it will be a while before we see him and Vin reunite, but I think they will probably end up reuniting closer to Urtau than they will Fadrex City. But kind of depends on what happens with Vin next. I think I was sort of thinking that maybe they would like burn away all her medals so that she couldn't do anything when she was up on the surface anyway. But we'll see. I guess we'll see what happens when she wakes up. But yeah, that's I think about all what I got. I'm a bit worried about Elend going. The fact that he's gone. Yeah, okay, yeah, sure. I'm the Lord Ruler. It's like, whoa, that's dark, man. You're not the Lord Ruler. You're going through a dark time and having to do things you don't like to do, but you're not there yet. And I hope this isn't a moment where he's just sort of resigned himself to that fact and gone, yeah, okay, this is who I am. But we'll see. He might be able to turn it around. I'm feeling good about Sazed as well. I think he's starting to come around. Yes, he's still got a long way to go, and coming through his grief about Tindwyl, but it was really nice to see him a bit excited, and he's sort of opening up to Breeze, and I think that's actually a really nice friendship they've got sort of going at the moment, which I hope continues. They've both seen some stuff. They've been through a lot of stuff, especially in the last book. So it's nice that some of those conversations that Sazed needs to have just from a human grief process, he's finally able to do a bit of that, which is good. So I'm feeling much better about Sazed than I was at the start of the book.
That's good.
Yeah, that's all I've got this week, really.
Yeah, it's sad that Elend's got in such a headspace, like where he's just like, yeah, I'm basically the Lord Ruler at this point. Like, that's how bad I'm. And it's even sadder that he doesn't have anyone at this point that he can like talk to. All the people he would normally. Vin's captured. Sazed is on the other side of the Empire. Even Breeze might have been, emotionally helpful in some way, and he's not there either. So he's got nobody to confide in at this point. It's kind of sad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, he's even sent Damu away, so
yeah.
All he's got left is Set.
And Ham, but Ham's not.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Ham's not really cool with a lot of stuff. Not super supportive.
Yeah, I mean, Ham is so. I can argue both sides of an argument that he's not that supportive to one side often, and Set is worthless, as we all know. So.
Well, Ham at least does seem to call people out when they do awful stuff, like first book when Kelsey nearly got Damu killed in a fight for the sake of spectacle. Ham's just like, what the fuck, man?
Not cool, dude. Not that he did anything to stop it, but he called him out a little. He's like, hey, that's not cool. Okay. Fair enough. Joe, what do you got?
Yeah, I don't have a lot this week either. I guess let me kind of take it line by line here. So the Spook stuff, the Beldray stuff, I don't think that's going to work out well. I really think that Ruin is basically calling the shots now. Spook's just leaning into it because it feels good, It's easy to just do what your mentor says and not have to think about why you're doing it or any ulterior motives, because at this point he doesn't think that this quote unquote Kelsier person would have bad motives.
You just made me realize that it's like, oh, this is what Breeze was talking about. Delegation, get someone to do everything else. That's what Ruin's doing with.
Yeah, I think it's all good. I mean, I think Ruin may be doing it out of necessity, since apparently he has some kind of body that he can't get to.
Point.
It's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, and so all of the machinations that have gone into what Ruin is about and what Ruin's trying to do. I mean, I think we've come to realize that this Ruin preservation yin yang thing, based on what we've read, it's like these are some kind of gods that created this world, and so the timing that like they say in the epigraph, the timing that this ruin had to make everything go right. Which, I mean, I guess if you got nothing but time and a well, you might start working stuff out like that, especially if you can push people one way or the other. It's just kind of insane. The one thing we'll get to that here in a second, actually. Then as far as Elend stuff goes, yeah, it's just kind of grim, man. He's going through something, which, it's not abnormal for him to go through something like this. But I think what we're seeing here with him being separated from Vin is kind of necessary to the story, because earlier in the book, I think we're leading up to Vin has her own mission and Elend has his own mission, and at some point their missions are going to collide and help to take Ruin down. Since they can't speak with each other about it, they've just kind of got to go off on their own and figure it out, and then kind of come together later. That would be my guess based on what we've read so far in the book and them talking about that. Like, okay, well, I'll do my part and you'll do your part, and when we need each other, we'll give each other a sign, and like that's how we'll know. It's like we'll know when we need to come together on this. So I think that's probably the necessity of them being separated story-wise. It's like they've got to do their own thing right now to kind of figure things out.
That makes sense.
So yeah, it's kind of grim and sad, but I mean, I think that's kind of why Elend's going on this trip, and he's like, okay, I'm preparing for war because I gotta do this. And then what was after that?
After that was TenSoon, right?
Yeah. So TenSoon. Oh well, the Vin chapter. I don't remember where that fell in the thing there. Yeah,
I feel like Vin was before Elend, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, may have been. Anyway, Vin. It looks like. Well, I guess I tied that in with the Elend thing. It's like they both got to do their own thing right now.
Mm.
And then TenSoon. I hope he shows up in Urto at just like the precisely right time. I think it would be hilarious if he walked in wearing Kelsier's bones, and then Spook's like, wait, what? Like Dak said, I think that would be super funny. But I don't know what's going to happen with TenSoon. I really hope he comes in and somehow just like completely saves the day. That would be a lot of redemption for him. Because I feel like TenSoon is the character right now that's on like a redemption arc. It's like he did all these things for his people and his culture, and he thought he was honorable, and then he goes back and he's treated with dishonor. And it's like, and he hurt Vin, but he was her friend, and so he's on it. I feel like he's on the redemption arc in this book. So maybe we'll get. Hopefully he doesn't have to sacrifice himself, but maybe we'll see some self-sacrifice to like save the day from TenSoon. That would be pretty cool.
He kind of did some self-sacrificing in the last book, though.
Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, we still got a lot of book to go. Yep. I think we're like 60-something% through the way.
63% at the end of this.
Yeah, so we got a good chunk of book to go. So there's plenty of time for lots of things to happen. And yeah, I think that may be where we're headed generally.
The prospect of him showing up and doing the dueling Kelsiers with Ruin Kelsier is fun. I almost think it would be more fun. Jamie's idea was like, well, he can't just show up as a dog and start talking. I want to see him walk in and be like, sup? Oh yeah, did I never tell you guys?
That's true. Because at this point, did she even tell Elend that the dog talked?
Elend knew. Yeah, Elend talked
knew.
to the Conjurer. Yeah.
Did Says know?
I don't think anybody else knew.
I think it was just Elend.
I think it was just them. Because she's like, I'm playing this close to the vest because somebody's a conjurer and we got to figure it out.
Right.
So I feel like, and then he was gone. So I feel like she never told them.
I really hope that it winds up being like he walks in as a dog and starts talking, and Breeze just like stands there dumbfounded, looks at Says and just goes, "Is there anything in your metal minds about this?" And Says just goes, "Oh yeah, like some ancient religion worship talking dogs all the time, man." Yeah, and but internally Says just going, "What the fuck?"
What? I want it to be a very Final Fantasy VII movie where they're like, it talked, and he's like, I can do many things. I'll talk as much as you want later. Now's not the time. We gotta go.
Was it like Dragon Ball: The Bridge is like they're all sitting around Goku in the hospital bed, and Corrin just like says something, and Master Roshi looks at him and goes, "Did that cat just talk?"
Which doesn't make sense because they were friends, but it was funny.
Yeah.
There's my favorite webcomic is Girl Genius, which is like a steampunk sort of webcomic that's about mad science. But there's like this like genetically engineered talking cat who's the emperor of all cats and can give cats orders. But anyway, it's just there's always every time somebody's like, oh man, stuff couldn't get weirder. the talking cat shows. They're like, oh yeah, I know what you mean, man. And it's just always plays great because no one expects the talking cat.
But also, like he's gonna get there, and it's like it's not gonna be the dog walking in and going like, oh hey everyone, what's going on? It's gonna be the dog walking in and just going, I got told Vin and Elend were here. Where the fuck are they?
It just walks in. It's like, has anybody seen Vin? I'm looking for Vin. I haven't. It's been a while. You guys might remember me. I don't know.
It's like, who are you? Oh, you don't remember me? Hold on, let me switch bones.
Yeah.
And
One second,
Kelsier
I'll be
shows
right
up. He's like, hey guys, it's me. Where's Vin?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's even better. Kelsier walks in. It's like, oh hey guys, long time no see. I'm looking for Vin. Have you seen her? I just need to talk to her.
Yeah, Ham's like,
And
You like my
Ham
Ham
says,
yeah.
like,
I was like, oh, do you like my haircut, guys? Like, what do you think?
yeah, I thought going bald would be kind of different, so I just figured I'd try it.
Try
Breeze and
something.
Ham are like, Breeze and says it like crying, like, you're back, and he's just like, yeah, it's me. Anyway, where's Vin?
of course, Breeze and Says know that a conjurer got his bones, so
It's true.
that might be their first thought.
Well, especially if he changes bones right in front of them.
Well, no,
Because like, what do those guys think happened to Orasua? Like, because I mean, she started
they
telling
don't
around
know.
the dog. She didn't tell him like the conjurer was the dog.
Oh wait, didn't she
Um,
tell them that she dismissed him?
yeah, she dismissed him. Yeah.
Oh, right. So he walks in and it's like, Orasua, where the hell have you been? And TenSoon's like, oh, I've got a lot to catch you up on.
Yeah. Long story. It's kind of awkward.
Yeah, or Sir was 9 because he'll be 10 soon.
Classic.
I still love that.
Yeah. It was the best. Okay. This week we have a couple emails. We have one new review. Let's do that first before I forget that it exists. And this one's actually like a month old at this point, and I don't know why. I kept looking and it didn't tell me there was a new one. And then one day it was like, oh yeah, here's one from March 16th. It's like, oh, okay. But this one is from Luxembourg, and
Wow.
the person who left it is called Larkire, Lark1RE. And it says, awesome.
Larkire. Okay.
Yeah. I assume that the one is supposed to be like Leet for an I. I don't know
Sure.
for sure. It says awesome and fun. If you want to listening to a group of friends discussing Brando Sandoz books, then this is perfect. The hosts are the perfect mix between clueless and insight knowledge, silliness and serious discussion. Their predicaments are the highlight of each episode. So thank you, Larkar. Appreciate it. Awesome that someone from Luxembourg is listening. That's a new one.
Yeah. Larkire, my man, you are a thug, bro.
Or woman.
Or woman, my bad. Thug, nonetheless. Welcome to the Misting Crew. If you would like to be inducted into the Misting Crew, just leave a 5-star review on whatever review platform you can. And you too will be inducted into the Misting Crew.
Well, I didn't actually mention that. That was a 5-star, which is good because he's already done the thing.
Yeah, so you're in the Misting Crew.
No takebacks.
It's too late.
No,
Yep.
yeah.
Too late to
Oh,
take
that
back
could be
now.
awkward.
Yeah. As long as it's 5 stars, you can say whatever you want. You can call me piece of shit. I don't care.
5 stars. I hate that Joe guy, but everyone
Yeah.
else is great.
Total dickbag, but hey, you're in the Misting Crew regardless, you know?
Just imagining it's like a 5-star review that says, I actually wanted to give 3 stars because I love Spook and he's my favorite, but I want to be in the Misting
Yep.
Crew.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it is. I love
That's
Spook so much.
that's really what I want. I want 5-star reviews that say what people really think, even though it's 5 stars.
So in the Discord, people are starting to get discouraged and like, oh man, I don't know if they're ever gonna like Spook, and I feel sad.
Why?
I was like,
I just
yeah,
don't.
Joe,
I
it's
don't
not gonna-
understand. Hey, how about this, guys? You know, after we're done with the stories that involve Spook, if this is the last one, Data, is this the last one?
Oh no, yeah, Spook comes back every book forever.
Oh, well,
Obviously.
never mind then. No, but I mean, whenever we're done with Spook, if I haven't come around, I'll give you an email address. You can email me and tell me why I should rethink my thoughts on Spook. And I'll respond, or maybe I won't. But
that'll be the next holiday special, is just
Yeah.
discussing Spook.
yeah, exactly.
Spook
I'll just,
in retrospect.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
viewer
It'll be
mail.
me only, and I'll just be going through your letters about Spook, and I'll tell you why you're wrong.
See, can't get more fair than that, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've got an open mind. It's just not a stupid one.
We have 2 emails today. I'm blowing right past it.
I gotta remember that line.
Yeah, right. And interestingly, they both give their names and then tell me how to pronounce their names, which I appreciate. I've just never, like, two emails in a row this time. So the first one is from Leela, and Leela says, "Hi, my name is Leela, pronounced Leela as in Taranga, and I recently started listening to your amazing podcast. I discovered
This person knows what we like.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're up with the episodes.
Leela, Leela.
It's spelled Lila, and that's why they had to tell me
sorry.
the pronunciation is Leela. Yeah. I discovered the Cosmere last summer while driving across Canada, and I've been trying to get everyone I know to read them because I love watching people go through stories for the first time when I know all the twists and turns and see if they react the same as me. I can't relate to that at all. I have no idea what you're talking about. Wink.
Yeah. Driving across Canada, that's bold.
I know, that's kind of cool. I'd be interested in doing that. I don't know, driving that long it can be painful though.
It's like what, 80 billion kilometers or something?
80 billion, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean it's rough. I feel like it's rough when I want to go to like the closest large city, which is like 2.5 hours away.
That's true. Yeah, driving to Dallas takes a bit of time. So Leela says, I started listening to the Shardcast podcast, which is absolutely amazing, but they're also knowledgeable about Brandon's works that I feel like such a beginner. That's why I love your podcast. I'm amazed at how spot on some of your predictions are, too. Before I could tell whose voice was whose, I sometimes would think, why is this person completely spoiling this twist for the rest of them? But you guys are just excellent at predicments. I haven't quite caught up yet, so I don't know how far you are. Data, please feel free to censor and or save this next part until the appropriate time. The next part is, I can't wait to see everyone's reactions to learning how Koloss are made. I freaked out so hard when I read that. I had to just sit and stare for a few minutes. Brandon, WTF, it's one twist I don't think you guys have seen coming, and it really adds a dark twist to human. Hearing you guys talk about how sweet it is, how he wants to emulate humans, I was that way too. It made me shudder when you realize the truth.
You are right on the money with that. That was...
Yeah. It was gross. I don't think any of us really saw that coming. I don't think that was something that, I don't know. Besides them saying they wanted to be human, I don't know that that's something that we really could have predicted.
No, we didn't talk that much about where you guys think Koloss came from, because all we knew was the Lord Ruler created Koloss, and we knew that TenSoon said that they were like cousin to the Kandra, and that's like all the information we had.
Well, that's it. It's like we thought for so long, like, you know, Kandra were created from like these other creatures that existed out in the world. So I think I just kind of assumed that Koloss were as well. And thinking about it now, it's like, well, Inquisitors are created from people, so why not the Koloss?
Yeah. Well, in the whole first book, we spent time talking about the Koloss, but we never actually see.
Yeah, because we haven't seen them yet.
You don't read what one looks like until the second book. So like, I remember in the first book, I thought Koloss might be like large dinosaur things. Like I had no idea what they even were.
They're dinosaurs. Yeah. No, I'm imagining like T-Rex with cannons for shoulders and stuff.
I think it's like a dinosaur body.
I didn't say Digimon.
It's a Digimon. Oh my gosh, yes. Oh.
It sort of pictures like a dinosaur-looking sort of body, but like a mouth like a sandworm from Dune for some reason.
Yeah,
Ooh, that's creepy.
Yeah, that's not bad. I thought they'd be like brontosauruses, but carnivorous for some reason. I don't know why.
Ooh,
that's hardcore with like the super long necks that just reach out and push you.
That's why I thought it would be easy for them to like completely destroy a village. It's like they just crane their necks over the walls and eat people. It's like Attack on Titan, but with dinosaurs.
Attack on Dino Titan. No, that doesn't work.
Brandon, write this story.
Yeah, write this one.
Titan Dino. Yeah, Attack on Dino Titan.
This is not really. He's talked about a couple of things that he's working on writing and wanting to write, and it's not really. There's one magic system that he talks about. He's like, I've always wanted to do this. I don't know where it could possibly fit, but like kite magic with kites, and I'm like, what?
What? Like Ben Franklin over here? Like, just
Kite
like,
man.
Let me touch
Hell
the
yeah.
key. Kite man.
It's a bit random.
Right? It is. And he's working on a book that's not in the Cosmere that was originally called like Death and Pizza. And it was about like a pizza delivery guy who was a necromancer, but now it's going to be like it's about a heavy metal singer who's a necromancer or something.
Oh, man.
But is it still called Death and Pizza?
I don't think so. I think he's going to have to change the name because I think he's removing the pizza aspect, if I remember his last statement.
It's like it's going to be like death metal, but like death is like emphasized.
Maybe.
But
anyway, so and the last thing Leela says is I think it's hilarious how much you guys hate Spook slang. Wuzzing to the time of next, Leela.
Yeah. Wuzzing to the whizzle. It's your boy Spook Dizzle.
Thank you, Leela, for your email. That was awesome.
Yeah.
And our next email is, it says, "Hi, what's up? My name is Lucia," and then there's a pronunciation, Lucia. "And I've been listening to your podcast since October 2020, I think, and I just wanted to thank you, since October 2020, I think, and I just wanted to thank you for delivering such a great form of entertainment. I first discovered Brandon Sanderson last year when someone recommended Mistborn, and since none of my friends love books as much as I do, I looked up Mistborn on Spotify to listen to a podcast and be as able as possible to be a part of a discussion. And you guys appeared. I've listened to many book podcasts, and I have to say I love your structure. The chapter-by-chapter commentary and final predicaments are a great format, and as someone said previously, I'm glad none of you have annoying voices. Thanks. Appreciate that. Apart from the fact that you manage to read, record, edit, and upload every week, even though 2 of you live in different time zones, and all of you have a life and a job apart from this, is astonishing. Appreciate it. It takes some work sometimes, but we try. Jamie and Dak are on their delayed first anniversary trip right now, but they took time out to come and record with us because they're that cool."
Yeah, COVID was a hell of a thing.
Yeah, no joke.
Hey, wait, did she say that our voices aren't annoying?
Yes, that is what she said.
Hold on. Hey, babe, my voice isn't annoying.
That'll teach her. He's like, I have proof now.
Validates.
She's probably gonna walk in here and be like, "Why are you yelling at me? What's happening?"
Yeah, exactly. But no, the next part of this email is great. So it says, "Anyways, enough of the compliments. I need to get something off my chest. I'm so happy that Joe and I agree on hating Spook. It's really a relief."
Oh yes.
At first, I
feel
mind
like
him.
Sorry, go ahead. I'll let you finish.
Go ahead. No, good.
I was gonna say, I feel like I was the first like hardcore hater, but I feel like we've all kind of jumped on the wagon of like, come on, Spook.
Joe hated him before it was cool, is what he said.
I mean, I'm really late to this book. What did the first one come out in, like 2007? I don't know. I mean, I'm late to the game.
Yeah, I think the rest of us were sort of ambivalent, but then with his antics, especially around women, and getting the evil lord into his head, we're just like, oh, for fuck's sake, dude.
I like Spook okay, but I can very easily admit that he's not the brightest bulb, and he does some stupid stuff that he should not be doing.
Like, I fully expected Breeze to be the one I would hate, and like, no longer. I've gotten so attached to that twit.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. We've really done a 180 on Breeze. Anyway, sorry to interrupt your email. Please go on.
It says, "At first I didn't mind him as much. His dialect wasn't annoying to me, and I thought that he was just going to be there. Then in book 2, he started complaining about how he wanted to be someone and do something important like Vin or Elend, and I was just," and then there's an eye roll emoji. And says, "And then I read Brandon's annotation saying that in the 3rd book he was going to be more of a main character, and I seriously debated on finishing the series. Well, maybe not that seriously. It was just a thought. But every chapter in the 3rd book where he appeared was literally painful to go through, apart from the fact that he sees boobs and can't keep 2 thoughts straight. I just didn't care, and didn't feel sorry for his past, and couldn't care less if he died or not. So thank you, Joe, for expressing everything that I felt while reading it."
That's why I'm here.
Why he's making a hate rap.
Yeah. Well, it's not a hate rap. It's just a foolish rap because he's a fool. Now, let me tell you, okay? Spook, he's not a great character. I don't know what to tell you. That's my opinion. Obviously, Lucia has the same opinion, or Lucia, sorry, has the same opinion. If you have that opinion, that's good. If you have the opposite opinion, that's fine. But, he's just not somebody to look up to in this book, for sure. I don't aspire to be like Spook. He has very little redeeming qualities about him. Now, have I felt like Spook? Sure. But have I realized that feeling that way won't solve anything? Yes, I realize that. And I feel like Spook just needs to realize that.
Yeah, maybe he'll get there. It's okay.
And we got time. We got 40% a book.
Yeah, we're getting close to that last third, but we're not quite there yet. I think next time we'll be into the final third of the book. So it's still more email. Moving on. I really love Sazed in the first 2 books, but in the 3rd one, I got bored after reading about him moping around because of Tindwyl. And maybe it's because of the fact that I didn't really buy that they were in love. Yes, I read Brendan's annotation about how they spent a lot of time together off screen when Sazed shared all his metal mines, but still, I just didn't think their relationship was that serious. And now seeing him just sit around denying to put on his metal mines and crossing off religion after religion was just boring for me. I don't know what you guys think. I know you love him, and I do too, but do you enjoy his chapters or just want to get over them?
I honestly feel bad for Sazed. It makes me sad to read that he is sad. It's not the same thing as Spook, though, because Sazed is somebody that I admired before, and I know what his potential is, and that he is a very good person, and he is not like a super easily corruptible or changed person. And I think the Tindwill of it all, she came back into his life because we knew from the first page that they were in the same room together that he had feelings for Tindwill. I think it was pretty clear in the way that Brandon wrote it. And so he had to overcome this feeling of I'm not even a man, because Tindwill helped him through that. She said, you know, your parts are not what make you a man. And besides all that, I'm not looking for that. I'm not looking for a physical relationship. I'm looking for somebody that I bond with on a deeper level. So did it seem short-lived? Yes. That's probably what makes it the most sad to me, because those two probably could have had a lot of years together. But I don't think that it was trivial. I don't think that it was rushed. I don't think that their feelings weren't extremely powerful for one another. I think it's pretty clear in the way that Brandon wrote it that these were two people that loved each other for a very long time, but didn't know how to express it to one another.
I'd agree with that. I think that the chapters of Says being a bit depressed, like, yeah, look, I can get how they can be a bit of a drag, but it's necessary to his character arc, and I think that's going to come into play in the final chapters of the book. That's just part of his character at this point. They do, like, I will admit, they seem a little bit repetitive from time to time, but I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with them. They're just showing how he's progressed as a character to get here. So, yeah, I'm cool with that, and and it will all come good. It will all be very important in the end. So, yeah, no issue.
I think it would be bad if there was no growth or development in these chapters, whereas we're actually seeing him go through this journey and he's starting to come out the other side. I think if he was still in the same headspace that he was when we started the book, I could see like this would drag a bit. And it's like, oh my god, I can't handle him. But because he is growing little bit by little bit, I think it's fine. You know, I think this is, and like Dak said, it will be, you know, towards the end of the book, and this will be really important, and he'll come through it. He'll come through it when he needs to come through it, which will work for the story. But you know, you don't just get over something like that. So to see how, you know, it can take a long time and it can take years to sort of come out the other side after such a big loss, you know, I think it's quite real too. So
yeah, and I think, to add on to that, I think one of the major themes of this book is grief. Sazed has grief. The majority of the people have grief for a life like that is well lived, or something that they had built in their heads. It's like a utopia. They're literally losing their world, their way of life, their livelihood, their lives. I think a lot of the main characters are dealing with grief. It's like Sazed is dealing with the loss of his lover and probably best friend. Spook is dealing with the grief of feeling inadequate, which I'll give him that. Like that's I've had that feeling. That sucks.
Also, the death of his uncle.
Yes, the death of his uncle, which he never really processed.
Which he feels guilty about too.
He feels guilty about. That's right. Elend is feeling grief over the entire, like, trying to protect all of these people, this entire world. It's not just Luthadel anymore. It's like the entire world. Mm-hmm. And he's feeling grief over that. And I think he's also feeling grief for what he is having to become, what he feels like he's having to become just to accomplish something.
Yeah.
And I think Vin has always been in kind of a constant state of grief over pretty much her entire life. And she's made a lot of breakthroughs, obviously, but it's something that, because of how scarred her past is, I think she's just eternally struggling with it. So I feel like the main theme of this book, I mean, even Marsh, it's like he's lost complete control of his body and his life. I think a big main theme in this book is just grief. Because if it ends the way that it looks like it's going to end, it sounds like this whole planet's going to be gone. So it's like they are literally losing the world that they live in. So it's not, and my point in saying all this is, like, when I read that stuff about Sazed again, it makes me sad for Sazed, but it's completely understandable. And it's even though it's character growth in a kind of a grim way, it's character growth. And the same thing goes for the Elend chapter we read this time. Like, I didn't like it, but he's thinking about things, he's internalizing, he's changing, he's figuring things out. So
yeah, and that's kind of my thing about Sazed and this whole arc that started in the second book and goes through this one. Is in the first book he was one of our favorite characters because Sazed is awesome, but he wasn't a character that had any sort of growth. He was basically the same guy at the beginning that he was at the end. We knew more about him by the end. We'd seen him like show like loyalty and bravery that maybe you didn't expect from him, but it wasn't out of character for him. He didn't really change. But then starting with Tyndall and stuff in the second book, he starts to get like a really big arc and go through some serious introspection and some serious change in how he sees himself and how he sees his place in the world. And it's sad at times. And we talked a lot at the beginning of this book about it's just sad seeing Sazed sad because we like him. But I think it really adds to his character to have that sort of thing and to see him go through it.
Yeah, I mean, it's real. It feels, that's something that a real person would feel. And yeah, does it kind of suck sometimes because it's a character that we like? Yeah, but it's more interesting than the alternative, which is just a guy that brushes his shoulder off and moves on.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, let me get the end of this email. Anyway, sorry if that was too long. I've been wanting to write an email for a while, but haven't had the chance. Now I'm going to wait and see what you'll read next, so I'll read it and with you, since I'm also new to Brandon's world. Congrats to you all. I hope only the best for the podcast. Wasing to the time of next, and greetings from Argentina, Lucia. And then there's a PS that says, Data, I know you love your statistics, but I've never heard my country when you mention where your listeners are from. I want you to know that you've reached Latin America. Thank you, Lucia. I appreciate that. That's awesome. And I'm glad that you're enjoying your first foray into these books also, because I really love.
We have a global reach.
Yeah, and after that I had to go and look to see actually it's interesting, and when I say interesting, Joe's rolling his eyes like, no, it's not.
Another statistics segment. Here we go.
Yep.
Hey, coming from the guy who's always bringing up what percentage of the book we're on.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I do that too, to be fair though. So but if I look at the month of April, which is the first thing that comes up here, so how many downloads we've had in April, Argentina is actually 7th on the list. It's the US, Canada, the UK, Germany, Australia, New Zealand, Argentina, and then India, and then the Netherlands. So we get into some.
Wow, India as well.
Yeah. Brandon has a pretty decent following in Latin American countries because there's a very big Spanish language streamer / YouTuber who is crazy about Brandon stuff and talks about it a lot. So you see a lot of on the Reddit and stuff. There's even a Spanish Brandon Sanderson Reddit, which there's not for a lot of others, a lot of other big authors or big English authors. But he's got quite a following there. So I'm not surprised that we've got some people from Latin America listening, but I really appreciate it. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. Okay, that was our emails for this week. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate hearing, and praise is good. But topics that we can kind of go back and forth on, like that thing about Sazed, that's excellent. I love getting more of those. So if anybody else would like to send us an email, the email address is thesanderlanche@gmail.com. That's the Sanderlanche with an E at the end. You can also find us on Twitter, where somebody sent us a question on Twitter this week, like, hey, what book are you going to read next? And I told him the next actual novel I have planned on the schedule is Elantris, but there may be some short stories in between there that I haven't announced for sure. So you can tweet at us. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, various places like that. Music by Miracle of Sound. Throw that out there. And before I forget, but for next time, 4 more chapters. So 53, 54, 55, and 56. We are trucking right along here, and we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 episodes from the end of this book. So we're getting there. If you're reading along with us, like a couple of people are, that's those 4 chapters for next time.
I don't know how you people do it. It drives me spare having to stop all the time.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think if given the choice, I would be able to do it.
I'm really good at just putting it until we talk. I read it, and then until we talk about it on the podcast, I just put it completely out of my mind. So I really don't think about the book at any time unless I'm reading it or talking on the podcast. So I've actually been pretty good at compartmentalizing it and just filing it away until we're ready.
Nice.
He's not going to compartmentalize compliments about his voice not being annoying. He's going to make sure people.
Oh yeah, everybody needs to know that. If you'd like to hear more of my beautiful voice, I do have a couple of different YouTube channels. One, I've actually started reading audiobooks, and hopefully, I won't get an injunction on that.
Say, is that legal?
Nice.
Okay.
No, it's definitely not legal. So
All right.
check it out. Yeah, it's Poetry Calls, PoetryCallz, no spaces on YouTube. Right now, I'm reading through Every Girl's Fantasy Midnight Sun. So check it out. That's what I'm doing.
Is it called? I've never heard of this. Is it called Every Girl's Fantasy Midnight Sun, or are you saying
No.
Midnight Sun is Every Girl's Fantasy?
There you go, that one.
Okay. I just had to clarify because that was a long.
Midnight Sun. For the Twilight fans out there, they know it's the first book in the Twilight series written from Edward's perspective. So there you go.
That one.
Okay, yeah. All right. Not gonna read that, so okay.
No,
I'm not
it's
gonna listen
fine. You don't have
to
to
you
read.
read it on YouTube either. Just FYI, sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm pretty sure if my brother told me he was listening to me read that book online, I'm pretty sure I would be like, "Hey man, you okay? That doesn't seem like something you would want to do."
Oh, I'm sorry. I almost forgot. We also got one comment on Facebook that I wanted to, because this guy has an awesome name. He's from South Africa, and his name is, I'm gonna say it's Regard. It's Reghart. I just thought the name sounded really cool. I don't even know how to pronounce it correctly, but it's cool. And he says, just discovered you guys, incredible show, about to start the Well of Ascension episodes. Please keep it up. So,
Word.
thank
Thanks,
you,
man.
Regard. See, we got people in South Africa too, all over the place.
Taking it wide.
I just assume that Dak and Jamie are white people from Australia or New Zealand are listening. They're like, hey, they live in the same part of the world we do. Also, we speak English, so we can listen to English podcasts.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, I will stop with the statistical where people are from and stuff. So thank you, everybody. Wasing to the time of next.
As the towers of steel and stone crumble to dust, the foundations of our hope begin to rust. Choking fear, screaming sound, as a reaper comes to ground. You turn to face it down because you must.